Hi students, I'm Dr. Reena Gupta and this is the part 3 of the solid state. And in this lecture we are going to discuss the crystal lattice or space lattice and the unit cell. So let's start. Just think beta कि if you have a crystalline solid in your hand, how it will look. Just like the silicon carbide, okay, which we have studied in the previous video, or it will look like the sodium chloride or any ionic compound which is termed as salt, or it will look like the graphite, okay, which we use in pencil leads. Fine. What is common in all these? They have one common thing, that they all have the shine. So generally, if you want to distinguish between a amorphous solid or the crystalline solid, generally the crystalline solids they shine, while the amorphous solid they do not have shine. For example, I can take the example of the chalk as an amorphous solid, and you know very well it do not shine. Okay, now this is about the external structure, that how the crystalline solid looks like. But if we are discussing how the internal structure, okay, means how the constituent particles like atoms in the case of the covalent or the metallic solids, ions in the case of the ionic solids, or the molecules in the case of the molecular solid, they arrange themselves in three dimension to form this structure. Okay, and the whole chapter is based on this internal structure, that is the arrangement of the constituent particles in the crystalline solid. So for this, let's assume that a crystalline constituent particle is a sphere, just like a ball or glass ball, you can say. A number of times you have played with the glass balls, so just assume that a glass ball or a simple ball is a constituent particle, and if we arrange these glass balls or the balls in a single row, means in one dimension, it will look like this. Okay, and if you prepare from the another lines of these glass balls, it will look like this. And now it has a two lengths, that is a and B, or in the two directions, that is X and Y. Now if we prepare the number of layers, consider it as the first layer, and above this we are going to pile up the number of the layers, then it means we are arranging them in the three dimension. Okay, and this three dimensional structure will look like this. Okay, now three dimension means, now that is Z, this is Y, and this is X. Now it is a three-dimensional structure, and with a three-dimension means we are talking about the space. Okay, and the arrangement, this is the regular arrangement of the particles, constituent particles, that is atom, ion, or the molecules. Okay, in three-dimensional space or three-dimensional network, that is known as the crystal lattice. So this is nothing, this is a crystal lattice, because we are talking about the three dimension, means we are talking about the arrangement, regular arrangement in the space. So this can also be termed as the space lattice. Okay, and this model is actually called the space filling model, and it is very difficult to study by using this space filling model. So we can use another model like this, which we have shown some distances between the constituent particles. Now it becomes easy to understand this, and this is nothing, a crystal lattice or the space lattice. फाइन. सो अब तक आपको समझ में आ गया होगा कि कैसे, व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ द थ्री डायमेंशन, व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ द स्पेस, and how the constituent particles they are arranged in a space to form the space lattice. So now this next is the definition of the space lattice. This is the regular arrangement of the particles of any crystalline solid in three dimension space. This is called the crystal lattice, and we already know this can also be termed as the space lattice. Now just observe carefully very carefully that this space lattice has a repeating unit. Okay, so if we are talking about this, uh, this is known as the unit cell. अगर आप इस स्पेस लैटिस को ध्यान से देखें, केयरफुली ऑब्जर्व करें, तो दिस अरेंजमेंट is repeated again and again to form the crystal lattice. Okay, and this repeating unit is known as the unit cell. Okay, so what is unit cell? It is the repeating unit which is repeated again and again to form the three-dimensional network or the space lattice or the crystal lattice, that is called unit cell. Okay, now next is the lattice point. Okay, this is nothing the position of the constituent particle. So each round sphere here that which is shown, this is nothing a constituent particle, and the position of these constituent particle is called the lattice point. Okay, so here's the definition: position occupied by the constituent particle in the space lattice is called the lattice point. So if we know about the lattice points, we can find out what type of the unit cell it is. Okay, and we can find out the number of the particles, constituent particles in a given unit cell, etc, etc. Fine. So now next we have to use the unit cells. Okay, now next topic is that is types of unit cell. But before discussing the types of unit cell, we must know some elements of the unit cell. The first element is the corner. This is the first element, and we know that in a unit cell there are 8 corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so whenever we are talking about the unit cell generally other than the hexagonal, okay, all unit cell they consist the 8 corners. Okay, the second element is a face. What is a face? Face can be termed as any even surface. Any even surface or any flat surface can be termed as a face. Okay, so just check the unit cell, and this is the one of the flat surface or the even surface. So this can be termed as face. Fine. So how many phases are there? Just count. There are 6 phases. Okay, now next element is the edge or the side length. What is the edge? Edge can be termed as a line where two faces meet or join. So obviously if we are talking about this unit cell, so this is the line where this face and this face meet. This is a line where this face and this third face that meet. Okay, so these are known as edges, and just count how many edges are there. The 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So there are the 12 edges, or these can also be termed as the side length in a given unit cell. Okay, now next is the element is diagonal. First of all, you must know what is diagonal. Diagonal क्या होता है? That is a line which joins two corners, any two corners. Okay, so first is the face diagonal. Here this is the face, we know this is a face. Okay, and if we join the two corners here, okay, so this is nothing the face diagonal. So a single face that consists two face diagonals. So how many phases are there? 6 phases. So 6 into 2, it means a unit cell that consists 12 phase diagonals. Okay, now next is the body diagonal. Means we are joining two corners, but the line is passing through the body. Okay, so this is called the body diagonal, and of course there are 4 body diagonals. This from this corner, this from this corner, and this from this corner, and total there are 4 body diagonal. So these are the some elements of the unit cell you must remember. Okay, only then you will be able to study the types of the unit cell, and further there are so many relations you can study. Okay, how many corners? 8. Faces? 6. Edges or the side lengths? 12. Face diagonals? 12. And the body diagonals? 4. Fine. So now next is the types of unit cell. Okay, the unit cells are of two types. First is the simple or primitive unit cell, and second is a centered unit cell. Okay, what is simple unit cell, or this can also be termed as primitive unit cell? In this arrangement, the constituent particles are present only at corners. Okay, like this. So these constituent particles are present only at corners. Fine. Now, next is a centered unit cell. In centered unit cell, the constituent particles are present at corners as well as the center. And this center may be of face, that may be body, etc. That may be edge center. But in case of here, we consider there are three types of the centered unit cells. That is, first is the face centered unit cell. Okay, so in this face centered unit cell, the constituent particles are present at corners as well as the center of each face. Okay, like this. Okay, so this is a face, and a constituent particle is also present at the center of the face. Again, I am considering the another face. So this is the another face. Okay, and the constituent particle is present in at the center of this face. And again, this is another phase, and the constituent particle is present in the center. So all the 6 phases, they at the centers of the 6 phases, the constituent particles are also present. Okay, so this is the face center unit cell. Now next is the body centered unit cell, and in this case, the at constituent particles are present at corners, but as well as the center of the body, exactly in the middle of the unit cell, you can say. Okay, like this. Okay, the elements constituent particles are present at corners and as well as in the exactly in the center of the unit cell, or you can say the body of the unit cell. That's why it is called the body centered unit cell. Okay, now next is the end centered unit cell. In this case, the constituent particles are present at corners as well as any two opposite faces. Okay, like this. Suppose I am considering these two opposite faces, this and this one. So present at the corner center of this and center of this face, that these two opposite faces. Or आप चाहें तो you can choose the another two opposite faces. Okay, like this. I can choose these two opposite faces. Okay, so they may be present at these two faces. Okay, so what are end center unit cell? Corners as well as at the centers of two opposite faces. So these are the three types of the centered unit cell: face centered, body centered, and end centered unit cells. Fine. So this is all about the types of the unit cell. Let's revise about this. So we have discussed about the internal structure. Okay, in the crystal lattice, this internal structure is known as crystal lattice or the space lattice, where the elements are arranged in the three-dimensional network, and the smallest repeating unit is called unit cell. The unit cells are of two types, simple and centered. Simple unit cell is also known as primitive unit cell. Here the constituent particles are present only at corners, while the center unit cells are of three types: face centered, body centered, end centered. Face centered, present constituent particles are present at the corner as well as the center of the face. In body center, corner and the body center of the body, and in the end center unit cell, in the corner and the two opposite faces. Okay, so this is all about the types of